Jake Hudson stood on his porch, coffee mug in hand, watching the Montana sunrise paint the mountains gold. The morning air was crisp in his lungs. After 15 years as a Marine and 3 tours overseas, this quiet life was all he wanted. His cabin sat alone among tall pines miles from the nearest neighbor, just how he liked it. The light changed. Not the sunrise. Something else. A blue glow filled the clearing in front of his cabin. Jake's coffee mug crashed to the wooden boards as the air split open with a sound like tearing cloth. A ship hovered where nothing had been seconds before. It was smooth and silver, shaped like a teardrop with no visible windows or doors. Jake reached for a gun that wasn't there. Old habits died hard. Human Jake Hudson, a voice boomed from nowhere and everywhere at once. You have been selected for conscription by authority of the Galactic Confederation Defense Act. Jake backed toward his door. Whoever you are, you picked the wrong cabin to mess with. A panel slid open on the ship's side. A ramp extended to the ground. In the doorway stood a figure that made Jake freeze mid-step. She, at least Jake thought it was a she, had blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Her head was hairless with a slight crest running from forehead to the back of her skull. Her eyes were large, solid black with no visible whites or pupils. I am Captain Alara Nixis of the Confederation Conscription Division, she said, her voice now coming directly from her rather than from the air around him. I apologize for the abruptness of this meeting, but our need is urgent. Jake laughed, the sound hollow even to his own ears. Lady, Halloween is months away. Whatever prank this is no deception, she interrupted. Your planet is classified as a death world, Jake Hudson. Your physical capabilities far exceed most galactic citizens. A what now? Ilara stepped down the ramp. She moved with unusual grace, as if the Earth's gravity was too strong for her. A death world, high gravity, extreme temperature variations, dangerous flora and fauna, unpredictable weather patterns. Most galactic species would perish here within days without protective equipment. Jake's mind raced through possibilities. Elaborate joke? Government experiment? Mental breakdown? None seemed to fit what was happening. The Confederation has been at war with the Vex Collective for 13 standard cycles, Ilara continued. We are losing. Your capabilities as a Deathworlder are needed. You want me to fight in some alien war? Lady, I'm retired. Done with fighting. Ilara's expression didn't change, but something in her posture shifted. If the Vex defeat the Confederation, they will come here next. Earth will be harvested for resources, billions will die. Jake felt cold despite the morning sun. Why should I believe any of this? I can show you. Ilara raised her arm. A device on her wrist projected a 3-dimensional image into the air. A planet that wasn't Earth rotated slowly, its surface scarred with massive trenches. This was Proxima b 3 cycles ago. The image changed to show strange creatures that looked like a cross between insects and machines, swarming across a landscape. They stripped everything in their path, plants, animals, even the soil itself. If you require further proof. Ilara gestured to the ship. Jake hesitated. Then, clutching his dog tags through his shirt, he nodded. Let's say I believe you. How long would this war service be? Time flows differently across galactic sectors, Ilara said. What might be years of service for you would be weeks on Earth. Years? Jake's voice rose. I'm not signing up for years. The alternative is extinction, Ilara said flatly. For your species and many others. Jake ran a hand over his face. Can I at least pack a bag? Ilara's expression finally changed. Surprise, Jake thought. Most conscripts attempt escape or violence. You are accepting this quickly. Jake shrugged. I've been drafted before, besides what good would running do if what you say is true? Inside his cabin, Jake quickly stuffed essentials into his old military backpack. Clothes, his grandfather's watch, a photo of his parents. As an afterthought, he grabbed his Marine combat knife and secured it to his ankle beneath his jeans. Trust, but verify, that had kept him alive in Afghanistan. When Jake emerged, 3 more aliens had joined Ilara. 2 were clearly guards, with armor and weapons unlike anything Jake had seen. The third was short and stocky with skin like rough bark. "This is First Officer Krell," Ilara introduced the bark-skinned alien. "He will be handling your orientation." Krell's voice was surprisingly deep. "Most new conscripts require sedation. For first transport, will you comply peacefully?" "As long as nobody tries anything funny," Jake said. The inside of the ship was brighter than Jake expected, with curving walls that seemed to glow from within. They led him to a room with a single chair surrounded by equipment. "Please sit," Ilara instructed. "The translation implant is necessary for service." Jake eyed the chair warily. "Translation implant?" "A small device at the base of your skull. It allows you to understand and speak all Confederation languages." Jake hesitated. "Will it hurt?" Krell made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Deathworlders ask the strangest questions. Yes, it will hurt. Then it will stop hurting." "Comforting," Jake muttered, but sat in the chair. The procedure was quick but agonizing. Jake felt something pierce the back of his neck, then a burning sensation that spread through his skull. When it subsided, the alien's speech had a strange echo to it, as if he was hearing it twice, once in their language and once translated. "The implant also contains your identification and tracking information," Ilara explained. "All conscripts are monitored for safety." "And to prevent desertion?" Jake asked. Ilara's expression remained neutral. "That too." The ship hummed to life around them. Through a newly opened viewport, Jake watched his cabin grow smaller, then the mountains, then all of Montana shrinking below them. Within minutes, Earth was a blue marble against the blackness of space. "Welcome to the Confederation Defense Force, Conscript Hudson," Ilara said formally. "You are now the property of the Galactic Confederation until such time as your service ends or you perish in duty." "Property?" Jake's hand instinctively went to where his knife was hidden. "A poor translation," Krell interjected quickly. "She means asset." Jake wasn't convinced. As stars streaked past the viewport, he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. But then he remembered the images of that devastated planet and knew he had no choice. If these Vex creatures were coming for Earth, he would do whatever it took to stop them. He just hoped he'd live long enough to see home again. The journey to Proxima Station took 3 days by Jake's watch, though Ilara insisted it was only hours in real space. Whatever that meant. The ship moved through something called fold space, which Jake understood about as well as he understood quantum physics. When they finally arrived, Jake pressed his face to the viewport. Proxima Station hung in space like a massive wheel, slowly turning. Smaller ships buzzed around it like bees around a hive. "Impressive, isn't it?" Ilara said, joining him at the window. "Home to over 40,000 personnel from 200 different species." "All soldiers?" Jake asked. "Many are, yes. Others are support staff, engineers, medical personnel." Ilara pointed to a section of the wheel. "That's where you'll be training, the Deathworlder division." The ship docked with a gentle bump. When the doors opened, Jake was hit with strange smells, metallic and organic at once, like nothing on Earth. The air felt thinner, and he found himself breathing deeper. "Atmospheric composition is adjusted for maximum compatibility among species," Ilara explained, noticing his discomfort. "You'll adapt." They walked through curved hallways filled with the strangest collection of beings Jake had ever seen. Some were humanoid, others nothing like humans at all. A floating cloud of gas passed them, contained in what looked like a transparent bubble. Jake stared until Ilara nudged him. "That's a nebulite," she said. "Don't stare. It's rude in most cultures." "Sorry," Jake muttered. "This is a lot to take in." They reached a large door marked with symbols Jake couldn't read. His implant translated them as Special Operations Training Facility. "This is where I leave you," Ilara said. "Your squad leader will take over from here." Jake felt a sudden panic at being left alone. "When will I see you again?" Ilara seemed surprised by the question. "I'm a conscription officer, not a trainer. Our paths may not cross again." She hesitated, then added, "Good luck, Jake Hudson, you will need it." The door slid open and Jake was ushered into a large room where 4 other beings waited. One was clearly human, a muscular man with dark skin and close-cropped hair. The others were aliens. One looked like a walking boulder, another like a cat standing on two legs, and the third was one of those gas creatures in a containment suit. A fifth figure stepped forward. To Jake's surprise, it was another human, older, with gray hair cut military short and a face like weathered leather. "Welcome to hell, rookie," the man said. "I'm General Warren Price. 15 years ago, I was conscripted just like you. Now, I run this outfit." Jake stood at attention automatically. "Sir, Jake Hudson, United States Marines, retired." Price walked around Jake, examining him. "Marines, huh? Well, forget everything you think you know about combat. This ain't Earth, and these ain't Earth rules." He gestured to the others. "This is your squad. Sergeant Krav, our Petrosian heavy weapons specialist." The boulder-like alien nodded. "Zara, Philidian scout." The cat person flicked her tail. "Miko, nebulite infiltrator." The gas creature pulsed briefly blue. "And Dex, another Earthling, weapons, tech." The other human raised his hand in greeting. Jake noticed his right arm was partly mechanical. "You five will train together, fight together, and probably die together," Price said bluntly. "The Vex don't take prisoners." "What exactly are we fighting for?" Jake asked. Price's expression hardened. "Survival. The Vex consume everything they touch. If they reach Earth, humanity ends. Simple as that." Over the next few weeks, Jake learned what made Deathworlders special. Most galactic species evolved on planets with lower gravity, milder climates, and fewer predators than Earth. Humans could lift more, endure more pain, and heal faster than most aliens. Even minor cuts that healed in days would be life-threatening to some species. The training was brutal. They ran obstacle courses in simulated high gravity. They practiced combat against drone attackers programmed to fight like Vex. They learned to use alien weapons that responded to thoughts as much as physical triggers. Jake was surprised to discover he wasn't the strongest or fastest. Krav could crush metal with his bare hands. Zara could move so quickly she seemed to blur. But Jake had something they lacked: adaptability and endurance. "Humans are terrifying," Miko told him one day, voice coming through a translator in his containment suit. "You break bones and keep fighting. You go without sleep for days. You heal from injuries that would kill most species." "That's just being a soldier," Jake said, uncomfortable with the admiration. "No," Miko insisted. "It's being human." 4 weeks into training, they faced their first crisis. During a simulated Vex attack, the system malfunctioned, the safety protocols disengaged, and the drones began firing real plasma bolts instead of training pulses. "Take cover," Jake shouted as a bolt sizzled past his ear, burning the wall behind him. Krav moved to shield the others with his stone-like body, but a bolt hit him in the leg joint, one of his few vulnerable spots. He collapsed with a crash. Dex tried to hack into the system with his cybernetic arm. "I can't shut them down," he yelled. "Something's blocking me." Jake noticed the drones were following a pattern, attacking in waves of 3. He counted the seconds between waves. "Zara," he called. "On my signal, dash to the weapons locker. Miko, be ready to slip through the ventilation system." When the next wave passed, Zara sprinted across the room, moving faster than human eyes could track. She returned with real weapons, tossing one to Jake. "Miko now," Jake ordered. The nebulite dissolved its containment suit partially, becoming a thin stream of gas that flowed through a ceiling vent. Moments later, the drones froze in midair. "Got the emergency shutdown." Miko's voice came through the room's speakers. Later, reviewing the training footage, General Price pulled Jake aside. "You took command effectively," he said. The others followed without question. Jake shrugged. "Just doing what needed to be done." Price studied him with narrowed eyes. "That quick thinking saved lives. But it also got you noticed. Is that bad?" Jake asked. "Depends," Price said cryptically. "The Confederation values Deathworlders as weapons, not leaders. Remember that." That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling of his quarters, thinking about home. By now, only a few days had passed on Earth. His neighbors wouldn't even have noticed he was gone. As he drifted off, Jake wondered if he would ever see Montana again, or if he would die among the stars fighting an enemy he barely understood, in a war that wasn't his own. But deep down, he knew it was his war now. If the Vex reached Earth, everything and everyone he had ever known would be destroyed, and he was determined not to let that happen. After 2 months of training, Jake and his squad were deployed to their first mission. They boarded a combat transport ship called the Horizon. It was larger than the ship that had taken Jake from Earth, with heavy weapons mounted on its hull. Outpost. Sigma needs reinforcements, General Price explained during the mission briefing. It's a mining colony on the edge of Confederation space. The Vex have been spotted in nearby systems. Jake studied the holographic map. What are they mining there? Crystalline. Fuel cells, Price said. Powering them is why we're fighting this war. The journey to Outpost Sigma took 3 days. When they arrived, Jake got his first look at a Confederation colony. Unlike the clean, organized Proxima station, Outpost Sigma was rough and industrial. Massive mining equipment dug into the planet's surface. Workers from dozens of alien species moved around carrying equipment. The outpost commander was a tall, thin alien with pale green skin named Director Lan. He seemed nervous. We lost contact with our outer sensor stations 2 days ago, he told them. Scout ships found nothing but debris. Classic Vex tactics, Krav rumbled. They destroy communication first, then attack. Jake and his squad were assigned quarters in the defense barracks. They spent the next day patrolling the perimeter of the outpost, checking defenses. Jake noticed the planet's gravity was slightly stronger than Earth's, and its air had more oxygen. It made him feel energetic, but the other aliens seemed to struggle. This place is almost as bad as your Earth, Zara complained, breathing heavily. How do you stand it? Jake shrugged. Feels normal to me. Maybe a bit easier to breathe. That night the alarm sounded. Jake was instantly awake, grabbing his weapon. Contact at the north perimeter, a voice announced over the speakers. All defense units respond. Jake and his squad rushed to the north wall. What they saw there made Jake's blood run cold. The Vex weren't what he had expected. They weren't insects or machines, they were everything. Creatures made of countless different body parts fused together. Some parts looked like limbs from various aliens, others like mechanical components. They moved in perfect coordination, some crawling, some flying, all advancing toward the outpost. What the hell are those things? Jake asked, raising his rifle. The Vex consume and repurpose all organic and mechanical material they encounter, Miko explained, voice trembling. What you're seeing are the remnants of species they've already conquered. The battle began. The outpost's defense turrets fired at the advancing Vex. But for everyone that fell, 2 more appeared from the darkness. Jake and his squad were positioned on the wall. Krav fired a heavy plasma cannon, carving huge gaps in the Vex ranks. Zara used her speed to dart between positions, throwing explosive charges. Miko floated above, calling out enemy movements. Dex had set up automated gun turrets that tracked and fired with deadly precision. Jake found himself falling into a rhythm. His Earth Marine training combined with his new Confederation weapons made him lethal. He picked off Vex after Vex, never missing a shot. But the Vex kept coming. Hours passed. Jake's arms ached, but he didn't stop firing. He noticed the other defenders, non-Deathworlders, were faltering. Many couldn't keep up the pace and had to be replaced. They're targeting the East Gate, Miko called suddenly. Jake turned to see a massive Vex creature bigger than the others ramming the gate. The metal was beginning to buckle. Squad on me, Jake shouted, running toward the East Gate. When they arrived, the situation was dire. The gate would break any moment. Jake looked around frantically and spotted mining explosives nearby. Dex, can you modify those explosives? Jake asked. Dex grinned. Give me 2 minutes. While Dex worked, Jake, Krav, and Zara held the line. The gate groaned under the continued assault. Ready, Dex called, holding what looked like a makeshift bomb. Miko, can you deliver it? Jake asked. The nebulite pulsed affirmatively. Miko took the bomb and slipped through a small opening in the gate. Moments later, there was a massive explosion. The giant Vex creature fell apart, its components scattering. But the battle wasn't over. A new wave of Vex appeared on the horizon. We can't keep this up forever, Zara said, panting. Jake realized she was right. They needed a new strategy. He remembered something from the briefing, the planet's higher oxygen content. Dex, what would happen if we ignited the atmosphere in a controlled area? Jake asked. Dex's eyes widened. It would create a massive firewall, but we'd need something to light it with. The mining lasers, Jake said. Can we repurpose them? The next hour, while the rest of the squad held the line, Jake and Dex worked on redirecting the mining lasers. When they were ready, Jake called to the others. Fall back to the secondary perimeter. Now. When the squad was safe, Jake activated the lasers. They fired into the oxygen-rich air just as the Vex reached the spot. The atmosphere ignited in a massive wall of fire, consuming the advancing enemy. For a moment, there was silence. Then cheers erupted from the defenders. The Vex attack had been repelled. In the aftermath, as they tended to their wounds, Jake noticed something strange in the Vex remains they'd collected. These components, he said, picking up a piece. They're specifically designed to capture humans. General, Price examined the piece. They know what we are, they're afraid of us. Later, Jake overheard Price talking with Director Lan in hushed tones. The human performed exceptionally, Lan was saying. But is that a concern for Operation Containment? Not yet, Price replied. For now, we need them. Jake slipped away before they noticed him. Operation Containment. What were they planning? He didn't like the sound of it. That night, as the squad celebrated their victory, Jake couldn't stop thinking about what he'd overheard. He was fighting to protect Earth, but were his allies planning something else? He resolved to find out more about this mysterious operation. But for now, he had survived his first battle with the Vex. And in doing so, he had proven that humanity's reputation as the deadliest species in the galaxy might be well earned after all. After the battle at Outpost Sigma, Jake's squad was recalled to Confederation headquarters. The massive space station orbited a red giant star and housed the military command center. Jake had never seen anything so enormous. It made Proxima Station look tiny in comparison. Their shuttle docked in a massive hangar bay filled with ships from across the galaxy. As they disembarked, medical teams rushed forward to treat the wounded. Dex had suffered a serious injury to his non-mechanical arm during the final hours of the battle. Report to Medical Bay 7 for evaluation, an officer told them. Command, we'll debrief you tomorrow. The medical bay was busy with injured soldiers from other battles. Jake sat on an examination table while a doctor, a six-armed alien with pale blue skin, checked him for injuries. Remarkable, the doctor muttered, scanning Jake with a handheld device. Your bone density is twice our standard, and you've already healed from injuries sustained 3 days ago. Is that unusual? Jake asked. For a human? No. For most species? Completely. The doctor moved on to check Zara, who had a nasty gash across her shoulder. As Jake waited for his squad mates to be examined, he noticed a human woman in a lab coat watching him from across the room. She had dark hair streaked with gray and wore glasses, an unusual sight among the advanced technology. When their eyes met, she quickly looked away. But a few minutes later, as Jake was leaving, she bumped into him in the hallway. I'm so sorry, she said, steadying herself. No problem, Jake replied. She leaned closer. Observation Deck 12. 1 hour, she whispered. Then she walked away as if nothing had happened. Jake was suspicious but curious. After making sure Dex was settled in for treatment, he made his way to Observation Deck 12. It was empty except for the woman who stood looking out at the stars. I'm Dr. Olivia Grant, she said without turning around. I've been with the Confederation for 25 years. 25 years? Jake was shocked. But that would mean... Yes, they've been taking humans for decades, Olivia said, finally, facing him. I was a biologist in Alaska when they found me. Why did you want to meet me? Jake asked. Olivia checked a device on her wrist. We're safe from surveillance for about 10 minutes. I've been monitoring your squad. You're asking questions about Operation Containment. Jake tensed. What do you know about it? It's not what they told you, Olivia said, her voice dropping lower. This war, the conscription of humans, it's all part of a larger plan. The Confederation has no intention of returning any human conscripts to Earth. What? Jake felt cold despite the warm air of the observation deck. Humans are too dangerous in their view, Olivia explained. We adapt too quickly, learn too fast. Once this war ends, they plan to sterilize Earth to prevent humanity from ever becoming a galactic power. Jake shook his head in disbelief. That's genocide. Why would they do that? Fear, Olivia said simply. You've seen how the other species view us. They're amazed by what we can do, but also terrified. A Deathworlder that can think, that can build spacecraft and weapons. To them, we're the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Why are you telling me this? Jake asked. Because I need allies, Olivia said. I'm not the only one who believes humans and other Deathworlders deserve better. There's a growing movement within the Confederation. People who want coexistence, not exploitation. Jake thought about his squad. Krav, Zara, Miko. All different species but working together. Are there others like us? Other humans? Hundreds. Scattered across different units, Olivia confirmed. And other Deathworlders too, all being used as living weapons. What can we do? Jake asked. For now, gather information, Olivia said. Be careful who you trust. Not all humans are on our side. As if on cue, the door to the observation deck slid open. General Price walked in, his face unreadable. I thought I might find you here, Hudson, Price said. His eyes flicked to Olivia. Doctor. Jake prepared to make excuses, but to his surprise, Price said, Is it done, Doctor? Did you tell him everything? Olivia nodded. Yes, General. Jake looked between them, confused. Wait. You're working together? Price gave a grim smile. Did you think you were the first to figure it out? I've known about Operation Containment for 10 years. Then why are you still fighting for them? Jake demanded. Because running wouldn't save Earth, Price said. We need a better plan, and now we need your help. Over the next hour, Price and Olivia explained their strategy. For years, they had been building a network of allies, humans, other Deathworlders, and sympathetic Confederation members who believed in coexistence. The key is proving our worth, beyond mere combat, Olivia said. The Confederation sees us as weapons, not people. We need to show them we're more valuable as partners. But the war is real, Price added. The Vex are a genuine threat, not just to Earth, but to all life in the galaxy. So what's the plan? Jake asked. Price pulled out a data tablet. We've been analyzing Vex communication patterns. We believe they're not mindless consumers, but are responding to Confederation aggression. You want to talk to them? Jake was incredulous. Someone needs to try, Olivia said. All our intelligence suggests they're a collective consciousness. If we could communicate directly with their hive mind. It would be a suicide mission, Price said bluntly. But if successful, it could end this war without more bloodshed. Jake thought about it. The idea was insane. Walk into the heart of enemy territory and try to reason with creatures that had destroyed entire planets, but if it worked, I'll do it, Jake said finally. But I want something in return. Name it, Price said. If I don't make it back, you get word to Earth. Tell them what's coming, with or without the Vex. Price nodded. You have my word. As Jake left the meeting, his mind raced. He had come to space to protect Earth from alien invaders. Now he was planning to talk to those same invaders while preparing to fight against his own allies. The irony wasn't lost on him. The universe's deadliest weapon, a human from Earth, was about to be used in a way no one had expected. Not as a killer, but as a peacemaker. He just hoped he would live long enough to see if it worked. The plan was simple but dangerous. Jake would allow himself to be captured by the Vex while carrying a modified communication device developed by Olivia. Once inside their collective, he would attempt to establish contact with the Vex hive mind. This is crazy, Dex said when Jake told the squad. His mechanical arm whirred as he clenched his fist. They'll tear you apart. Maybe, Jake admitted. But if there's even a small chance of ending this war without more deaths, I have to try. The squad insisted on coming with him, at least part of the way. General Price arranged for a small scout ship to take them to the edge of Vex territory. The mission was officially listed as a reconnaissance run. Their target was a small moon where Vex activity had recently been detected. The plan was for Jake to land alone while the others waited, in orbit. The night before the mission, Krav found Jake in the observation lounge. Why do you do this? The stone-like alien asked. Your kind fights well. You could survive this war, return to your planet. Jake stared out at the stars. Because fighting well isn't enough. Sometimes, you need to know when to stop fighting. Krav made a grinding noise that Jake had learned was laughter. Humans, the deadliest weapons in the galaxy, and you try to make peace. I will never understand. The next day, as their ship approached the moon, Jake prepared himself. He carried only the communication device and a small knife hidden in his boot. No weapons that the Vex would immediately detect and destroy. Remember, Olivia had told him, the device needs to be within half a kilometer of their central node to work. Look for the largest concentration of activity. Jake's squad mates watched as he boarded the landing pod. Zara pressed something into his hand, a small metal charm, in the shape of a Philidian good luck symbol. Come back, human, she said. Our squad needs its leader. The descent to the moon's surface was rough. Jake landed in a small valley surrounded by strange, twisted structures that looked half-grown, half-built. The air was breathable but had a metallic taste. He didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, Vex drones surrounded him. They didn't attack immediately, which confirmed Olivia's theory. They were curious about a lone human surrendering. The drones herded Jake toward a massive structure in the distance. As he walked, he saw more evidence of the Vex's nature. They weren't just destroyers. They were builders, creating complex systems from the materials they gathered. At the center of the complex was a massive chamber filled with a swirling, shifting mass of organic and mechanical parts. This had to be the central node, the closest thing to a brain that the collective had. Jake activated the communication device. It hummed to life, sending out the carefully designed signal patterns that Olivia had created to mimic Vex communication. The effect was immediate. The swirling mass stopped moving, everything went silent. Then, to Jake's shock, the mass began to reshape itself, forming a roughly humanoid figure. Human, a voice spoke directly into Jake's mind. Why do you come alone to us? Jake struggled to find his voice. To understand, and to be understood. What followed was unlike any conversation Jake had ever experienced. The Vex didn't think like individual beings. They were a collective consciousness, every part connected to the whole. Images and feelings flooded Jake's mind faster than words. Through this strange communication, Jake learned the truth. The Vex were not conquerors by choice. They were refugees, fleeing from an even greater threat at the galaxy's edge, a vast, cold void that consumed everything, even light. We consume to survive, the Vex explained. We repurpose to grow. We must grow to escape. But you're destroying worlds, killing entire species, Jake argued, as your Confederation has destroyed. Our outposts killed our nodes, the Vex countered. We did not start this conflict. Jake saw images of the first contact between the Vex and the Confederation, a misunderstanding that had escalated into war. The Vex had attempted communication, but the Confederation had seen only a threat. There are uninhabited systems, Jake suggested. Places where you could grow without harming others. The Vex consciousness rippled with something like interest. Show us. Using the communication device, Jake shared maps and data Olivia had provided. Star systems rich in resources but without sentient life. A truce, Jake proposed. You leave populated worlds alone. The Confederation helps you find new homes. We face the greater threat together when it comes. The Vex were silent for a long time. Then, we will consider, but proof is needed, Trust is unfamiliar. I'll be your proof, Jake said. Let me take one of your nodes back with me, a representative to speak with our leaders. Meanwhile, aboard the Confederation flagship, General Price and Olivia put their own plan into motion. They revealed the truth about Operation Containment to key representatives from various worlds. The evidence was damning. Secret directives, hidden communications, plans for Earth's sterilization once the war ended. Many were horrified. The Confederation leadership had always preached coexistence and protection, not extinction. When Jake returned with a small Vex node, a piece of the collective consciousness willing to communicate, the galaxy was already changing. The revelation of the Confederation's secret plans had caused fractures in the alliance. Many worlds were choosing to side with Price's faction instead. In a historic meeting, Jake stood before representatives of both sides, the Reformed Confederation and the Vex Collective. "We've been fighting the wrong enemy," Jake said. "Both sides thought they were protecting themselves from destruction, but the real threat is still coming, and we'll need to stand together to face it." The peace was fragile at first. Centuries of mistrust couldn't be erased in days, but as the Vex began relocating to uninhabited systems and sharing their knowledge, attitudes slowly changed. 6 months later, Jake stood on a balcony at the new Galactic Alliance headquarters. Earth had been officially recognized as a member, world with Jake as its first representative. Admiral Lan, one of the Confederation leaders who had opposed Operation Containment, joined him. "You know what puzzles me about humans," the Admiral said. "You had the power to destroy us. Your kind could have taken control after the truth came out. Why didn't you?" Jake thought about Montana, about the quiet life he'd once wanted. Because domination isn't survival. Cooperation is. That's the lesson Earth taught us the hard way. The deadliest weapon in the universe, Lan mused, turned out to be a human with time to think. Jake smiled. Not a weapon at all. Just a person who remembered that every living thing wants the same basic things: safety, purpose, a future. Soon Jake would return to Earth for the first time. What had been years for him, but only months for his home planet. He would tell humanity about the wider galaxy, about the threats and wonders waiting among the stars. And he would tell them that the universe had feared humans for the wrong reasons. Yes, they were strong, adaptable, and fierce when threatened. But their greatest strength wasn't their capacity for violence. It was their capacity for peace.